Welcome to That Bible Guy. Why follow God when He tells me who to love? Thanks for tuning in today. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. Appreciate that. But why follow God when He tells me who to love? I had conversations recently, and maybe one in particular, but it's a kind of conversation that I've heard a few times, and it's thrown out there. And there's two ways that it can come across. It can come across as an issue of, is the person interested in truth? Or is it just they don't really like your viewpoint, maybe? They don't agree with it, and they're just curious to how you can accept it. Either way, you're going to answer fairly similarly, but it's good to know where the person that says this to you is at. And let's be honest, what I'm talking about is almost commonly, these days anyway, is to do with homosexuality. If a man loves a man, woman loves a woman, who is God to say, why does it matter? Love is love, and all this kind of stuff. And let's be honest also, we could replace that who I love with some other thing that the Bible might define as sin. You know, what's wrong with me getting drunk once a month? Or what's wrong with me doing X, Y, or Z? Why would God care? Why does it matter? Why am I going to follow God when He determines something like this? Why would I follow God specifically in this case when He's telling me who to love? Well, three sort of things today to think about in turn of answering this question. And I was in a conversation and I was thinking my way through it myself, and I had some reflections that I really just wanted to share. I think the first one is on the idea of truth. Is the person interested in truth? Are they interested in truth? Well, would they agree that truth, God, Christianity, is not subjectively determined? Like, we don't determine it by what we like and dislike, what we want to do and what we don't want to do. Like, is there truth outside of us? Or do we determine it ourselves? Relativistic truth or absolute truth? And it's probably something worth talking about. For instance, in the past, I did my fitness instructor examination. And I loved many aspects of the course. I was very good at the theory, very good at some of the practical elements, but there were a few machines that I had to use and also demonstrate to others how to use in a very specific way. I was worried about it, and that became the reality because in the end I didn't teach it very well and I didn't pass that particular aspect of the exam. So even though I didn't like it, it didn't determine the reality in that particular course. In anything that we do in life, we don't determine the truthfulness or not. It's not subjective truth doesn't really work. And in this instance, when I talk about God and the things that we like or don't like, and whether God likes them or not, we have to ask ourselves, is the person only interested in truth that conforms with their opinions and feelings? It feels right to me, therefore that's truth for me, and that's how I determine truth. Or are you interested in truth that might be outside of your opinions and feelings? So let's be honest, let's hope we are. Otherwise, we're all determining truth for ourselves. So there's that subject of truth. But let's get on to the other meaty issues that really are of interest here. And this is the how I went about answering this question of why does God care if He's telling me who to love? Why does it really matter? How can I accept God if He's telling me things like who I should love and who I shouldn't? And I thought, well, one of the things I would say is, well, the issue about who you love and who you don't love is a peripheral issue. In a sense, it doesn't really matter. And what I said was, whenever you get it, what I've got, Christianity, the cross, salvation, Jesus, God's redemptive plan for mankind, when you get it, it doesn't really matter anymore. If your starting point is, okay, will God accept all the things I want to do, and then I'll dig in and see what I think about Christianity, it doesn't work that way. We've got to get the big truth that's demonstrated in Scripture first. Whenever I became a Christian, I was sold on the idea that Jesus came and died for humanity, that I will be answerable for how I live my life, and there is an afterlife. There's a God who cares how I act, and it matters to other people how I act. So there is a standard. And I was aware that I fell short and I needed someone to help bring me back up to the standard. Jesus done that. At the time, there were peripheral issues in my life that bothered me that I didn't want to give up. I love going to nightclubs, I love dancing, I love going out for a few drinks. But in reality, for me, going out to nightclubs was a complex issue. For me, a lot of the time it was women, it was lust, It was going after different women. There's a drug scene. There was often violence as well. There was a whole range of things that came with the nightclub scene that I knew I simply cannot keep doing this. I didn't like at the start that I should maybe stop this, but I knew in the end that I had to. There's other things about my own character in that I didn't like. Also, again, drinking and other things. Maybe several girlfriends rather than just being faithful. So there's many things that I did, and I thought, I could have thought, who's God to tell me that this is wrong if I'm wanting to do this and this feels right for me? And I thought, well, if I accept that this is true, Jesus is who he claims to be. He died for the sins of humanity. That the gospel is good news. Jesus was sent by God to rescue us, redeem us. He rose from the dead, which is coming up Easter Sunday. All of this is true. I've accepted that this is true. That's the centrality of the gospel. That's the bit that really, really matters. The issue about whether I love someone of the same gender or not becomes a very peripheral issue. If you accept what it's all about and you believe it, then this becomes such a small issue in reality. John 7:17, Jesus said to people who were skeptical, they weren't sure if what he was saying was true or not. Jesus understood their skepticism and said, if anyone chooses to do God's will, he will find out whether my teaching comes from God or whether I speak in my own. I love what he says here. He's saying, look, you're over there and you're skeptical, and I'm saying these words, and you're not knowing whether to believe me or not. But if you follow the bits that you know to be true or you're not sure about, follow them, and then you'll find out if the other teachings that seem a bit more strange or radical to you are true, are plausible, or even are acceptable maybe just. So the bits I'm telling you about loving your neighbour, about looking after orphans and widows in their distress, about forgiving people, about loving your enemies, if you can accept it that way is right, follow it, put it into practice, and then you'll see these peripheral issues that you don't quite understand will start to maybe make some sense. Just also to say, in terms of the prevalence of this viewpoint today, I want to love who I love. Love is just love. Why is that normal? And we see this a lot as Christians today. Well, it's just to say that it's obvious for me, and I'm sure for all of us, that the norms, accepted norms of our world and today's culture are being thrown away. Don't be surprised at the prevalence of views like this. So accepted norms of gender, accepted norms of relationships and definition of marriage. These accepted norms that were, the idea of an unborn child and protection for an unborn child. All the things I'm describing here. The things that society today is even telling us that we don't even have to be the gender that you were born with. And we know there's gender dysmorphia, and that's a whole other conversation. But the idea of accepted norms is changing rapidly. So don't be surprised at the prevalence that we see today. And just to say, to finish off with, in a conversation where we may be having with someone on this, what I really want to know is, in order for you to find the truth of what I'm sharing, is are you open to the truth? The objective, absolute truth that doesn't reside in you, but sits outside of you. Are you interested in the truth? Are you open to the truth? Can the truth be found by you, or are you putting it off because it doesn't quite fit with what you want it to be? And again, that's a really, really good thing to think about as we navigate a conversation like this. So it's all about the idea of we don't determine truth. The next one is the issue of who we love is a very peripheral issue if you've accepted the most important aspects of the gospel. And again, don't be surprised today if we meet this time and time again. And remember, a key of all of it is the person actually open to the truth. Remember, we need to also be open to the truth. Thanks for watching this today. If it's helped you in any way, please hit the like button. Please share it on for other people. If you haven't already, please subscribe to That Bible Guy, and let's get his word out there.